Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Let's wait for your classmates. So we're already 15 here. Okay, so I think we can start now. Okay, so today, our lesson is, we're already in the chapter 4 or unit 4, writing the review of related literature. So we're done already on the first part of research, no, yung problem and its background, yung mga introduction, yung mga statements of the problem, yung mga frameworks, yan, yung mga hypotheses, and all. Yon, lahat yon ng chapter 1. Ngayon, nasa chapter 2 na tayo or part 2 ng mga research. Yan, yung mga ano na tayo, nasa RRL na tayo. Review of Related Literature. Ito yung compilation or parang consolidated na study or backups natin. If in case na may mga tanong yung panelists sa atin, kung saan natin nakukuha yung mga ideas, yung mga sagot natin, and mga like frameworks or yung background din ng study. So meron tayong ipapakita sa kanila, no, na backup. Okay, so for lesson 1, relevant literature sources for quantitative research. Okay, so how can you make the literature of your study more related to each other? Okay, so parang paano mo mako-connect or how can you relate your study from other studies? Ganun. So syempre, no, isa sa mga ways or isa sa mga factors na masasabi nating related yung study natin to other studies is parehas kayo ng topic. Yan. Parehas kayo ng field, no? And marami pang factors. Okay, so at the end of this lesson, we should be able to differentiate primary and secondary sources of data. Yan. And select relevant literature for your quantitative study. Okay, no? Primary and secondary sources of data. Mahilig ba tayo mag-fact check kapag nakakakita tayo ng news sa social media? Yan, mahilig ba tayong magkalkal kung ano ba yung mga primary and sample ng primary and secondary sources of data bago tayo mag-conclude? Yan. Tayo ba yung tipo ng tao na kapag may nakita tayong news sa social media, naniniwala ba tayo agad or nagpa-fact check tayo or chine-check natin yung sources nila? Okay, so medyo napapanahon to ngayon, no? Kasi marami na rin kasing mga fake news na lumalabas sa social media. So we don't know kung fact ba yung nababasa natin or fabricated na ba siya, yan, dahil na-influence ng mga kanya-kanyang interest. Okay? So what are the different sources of data? The literature review of your study. So, di ba, we have primary and secondary sources. So, have you heard that before? Yung mga types ng sources of data, yung primary and secondary. So, we'll know, no? Okay, so how do you select relevant literature for your study? Okay, so the primary sources of data, this refers to the literature that contains first-hand evidence. So, ayan, ano ba yung mga sample ng first-hand evidence? Anyone, meron ba kayong idea kung ano ba yung sample ng primary sources of data? Yan, yung mga mahilig mag-fact check, yung mahilig mag-research, mahilig magkalkal. Yes. First, unang-una is yung interviews. Yan. Interviews. Ano pa? What else? Yan. Best example is interview talaga pag primary sources of data. So ano ba yung mga sample ng data, ng interview, no? Ito yung mga nanggaling mismo doon sa naka-experience, doon mismo, galing mismo sa mga nakasaksi or naka-witness nung pangyayari. Okay? So we can't just parang hindi natin dapat baliwalain, no? Yung mga sinasabi ng mga naka-experience nung situation kasi considered yon as primary sources of data. Yan, part ng yan, interview, photographs, even survey kasi nga galing mismo yon sa respondent. Ayan. Okay? So yan, yung mga kwento ng mga matatanda, yung kwento ng mga lola at lolo natin sa atin, and hindi natin pwedeng baliwalain yun, no? Kasi isa yun sa mga primary sources of data. Okay? So yung sinasabi ng iba na bakit ka naniniwala sa kwento lang ng lolo at lola mo, ng mga tita mo, hindi naman daw yan sources of data, which is not true. Okay? So yon, yung mga kwento ng ating mga lola at lolo, yung mga interview na yan, yung mga survey na yan, yung mga questionnaire na pinasagutan natin directly to the respondent, example yan ng sources of data. And under yan ng primary sources. Okay, gets natin? Okay. So did you know for quantitative studies, it is important to gather statistical data from primary sources of related literature. Yan. So isa sa mga talagang main sources talaga ng statistical is yung survey natin. Yung mga survey form natin. Kasi yun yung best way para makalculate or magawa ng statistician yung computation para magkaroon tayo ng conclusion. Okay? Yan. So, primary sources of data can give authoritative and credible support for the findings of your study. So, isa sa example is yung survey nga. Kasi galing mismo yan sa respondent. Ayan, ibig sabihin yung sinagutan nila yung survey form nyo, nag-agree siya na nabigyan niya ng permission na mag-conduct ng survey sa'yo. Okay? Yan. And then, syempre, credible support din yun. Okay, so examples of primary sources of data, yan, original publication of research, thesis, and dissertation. Ayan, example, yung pinakita ko sa inyong thesis. Ayan, so primary sources yun kasi ako mismo yung gumawa and then kumbaga parang yung mga sinasabi ko, naput ko lang siya into writing. Yan, ayan. So, yan, yung mga publications of research, thesis, and dissertation. Okay, kasi galing mismo yan dun sa author. Okay, what else? Field notes of field researchers, spreadsheets with raw data, and experimental results. Okay, so primary sources of data can be used to support the findings of your study in Chapter 4. Okay, so yon. Kapag nagkaroon ka na ng conclusion, parang i-feel ko part 4 na to ng research eh. Ayan, at least meron ka pang another backup, which is huhugutin natin sa review of related literature natin. So secondary sources of data. This refers to the interpretation of data and summaries of results from primary sources. Okay, parang ano to, kunyari, tawag dito, yung part ng RRL ko that can be a secondary sources. Yan, yung part ng review of related literature ko kasi diba parang ginather ko lahat ng thesis, ng research, dissertation, tapos parang in-interpret ko siya, no? So that part can be an example of secondary sources. So ito naman, ito yung mga ginagawa ng iba na parang nire-review nila yung isang movie or nire-review nila yung isang book na nagawa na, nire-review nila yung isang research, tapos gumagawa sila ng sarili nilang conclusion based sa experience nila, based din dun sa nabasa nila. Okay? So interpretation of data and summaries of results from primary sources. Okay, so this kind of source of data helps researchers in gaining a wider background of knowledge. So for example, merong mga quotes or for example na lang yung thesis, yung mga research na nakikita natin. Okay, so merong mga tao na hindi naman agad yun nagigets. So merong mga ibang expert na pinapaliwanag pa yun and nagbibigay sila ng input nila or tawag dito ng interpretation nila based sa nabasa nila. So yun, nakaka-help din siya sa other researcher para mas maintindihan nila yung study na yun. Example of secondaries. Examples of secondary sources of data, yung mga textbooks, yan, mga encyclopedia, magazine and newspaper, mga secondary lang yan. Interpretational surveys, yan, biographies. Okay? So yung mga news, yung mga nasa news, mga secondary na yon. So syempre depende yun sa interpretation nung depende yun sa interpretation nung gumawa ng mga magazine and newspaper. Okay? So pinaka reliable source pa rin talaga natin is yung primary sources natin. Okay? Though dapat yung mga gagawa ng mga news, yung gagawa ng mga textbook or ng mga interpretation, dapat credible sila and ayun, kumbaga relevant yung expertise nila based dun sa study na ini-interpret nila. Okay? Why must secondary sources of data be included in your review of related literature? So the purposes is giving credibility to your study. So yun, kunyari binack-upan niya yung existing na primary sources, nagbigay siya ng conclusion, and then kumbaga nag-credit siya doon like totoo to na reliable tong study na to. So yun, parang nagbibigay siya ng credibility din doon sa existing primary na research. Providing a detailed overview of existing literature. Kumbaga parang pinapaliwanag nila in a way na mas maiintindihan pa ng ibang tao. Yan. Fitting results of study to existing literature. Kumbaga parang kinoconnect nila yung primary sources, yung mga research na yun, doon sa result, no, or sa result ng survey, or doon mismo sa study na ginagawa ngayon. Okay? Guidelines in selecting literature. So select literature based on your statement of the problem. Yun yung topic natin, yung mga variables natin. Okay, select literatures that are related to your specific topic and field of interest. Kasi syempre, di naman tayo gagawa ng statement of the problem na hindi naman, na malayo naman sa field of interest natin, di ba? Okay. Third, select literature that uses evidence. Ano ba yung mga example ng evidence? Actually, ang mga photographs and video cannot be an example of evidence. It's because parang napafabricate kasi siya or na-edit or ayun, no? So isa talaga sa di ba pag sa mga korte, isa sa mga acceptable lang na evidence is mga witness. Okay? Select literature that are current. Syempre, as much as possible, pipiliin lang natin yung up to 5 years. Kumbaga kung 2022 ngayon, ang hahanapin natin ay hanggang 2017. Wag na tayong maghanap pa ng older pang research doon. Okay? Select literature published locally and internationally. Okay, so ito isa to sa mga criteria kapag nagko-consolidate na tayo or nagko-collect na tayo ng RRL natin. Yan, dapat pumili tayo ng published locally and then international. Okay, so when searching for online literature, use the specific topic of your study as keyword on the search engine. So for example, ang topic mo is about, again, no, yung financial literacy or financial, then pa kahit yung mga one word na yun. Or mas better, ang ginagawa ko ng dati, no, study of finance. Yan, lalabas na yun lahat. Yan. Financial management. So, lalabas yung mga study, no, na connected dun sa topic na yun or dun sa keyword na yun. Practice, how will you gather the primary and secondary sources of data for your study? Siyempre, no, yung primary, that can be done through interview. Yan. And searching for latest researchers research and yung mga thesis. Yung dati pa nga nung hindi pa uso yung Google, napunta sa mga library. Yan. And secondary sources of data, parang same din, no? Check ka lang sa mga libraries or yung National Library. And search ka lang din sa Google. Okay, so what is the difference between primary and secondary sources of data? So yung primary talaga yung first-hand While yung secondary, ini-interpret nila, pwede nilang i-interpret or i-summarize yung mga nabasa nila or nakuha nilang idea galing sa primary. Okay, so Lagos 2010 study on the relationship on the cognitive effects of music coincides with the other authors mentioned before, wherein the different musical genre that students prefer can motivate them to concentrate on their tasks, thus leading to better academic performance. Ayan, sino ba yung mahilig dito na habang nagbabasa or habang naggawa ng assignment, nakikinig sa music? Yan. Okay, si Joy Ann daw yan, habang nagsasagot siya ng mga assignments and nagbabasa is, yun, nakikinig siya sa music. Okay, so minsan ano yan lalo na kapag nagme-memorize. Ayun, ako parang dati nakasanayan ko during law subject, so memorization talaga ng mga articles yun. So parang meron lang akong specific na music na pinapakinggan. Yun lang. Tapos habang pinapakinggan ko yun, mas napapadali yung pag-memorize ng mga articles. Okay, so again, primary sources of data contain first-hand evidence, raw experimental results, or survey data from different studies. Okay, so secondary sources of data contain summaries of results of literature, articles, and study related to your topic. Selecting relevant literature sources is guided by the statement of the problem. So related to the specific topic, backed by evidence, published currently, and published locally and internationally. So guidelines, statement of the problem, specific topic, evidence, current and local and foreign. Okay, so do we have any question regarding the sources of data? Okay, so hindi lang news, no? Hindi lang yung mga articles sa internet ang sources of data. Okay, hindi lang yon, no? Yung nababasa nating news, nababasa nating mga interpretation. So mga secondary lang yon. Okay, yung primary sources talaga natin is yung mga nagsagot na ng survey, nag-interview, yan, kapag yung mga sinasabi ng tao mismo. Yan, syempre hindi naman natin pwedeng gawing evidence yung mga photographs talaga and video kapag nasa korte tayo. Dapat mga witness talaga. Okay? Okay, so next topic, how do you think researchers cite the resources they used in their research paper? Okay, so kunyari nakapag-collect na tayo ng study natin, ng mga related literature natin, paano naman natin siya isusulat, no, sa study natin? Okay, so after this lesson, we should be able to differentiate citation style guides, apply citation techniques in quantitative research. Kumbaga, merong format on how we're going to write yung mga na-collect nating research. Okay, and apply citation techniques in quantitative research. Okay, so for the activity, ayan, okay, so yun, if in case, no, kapag kung gumagawa kayo ng research ngayon, I think kay Sir Mark nagawa kayo ng research. Kapag mag-observe kayo kung paano sinusulat ng mga researchers, yung mga or paano sila nag-citation, bandang part ng RRL. Okay, so what is the importance of citation? So citation is an organized way of acknowledging literature sources used in specific parts of the research paper. Okay, so yun, no, giving credits to other researchers, supporting arguments, organizing literature sources. Okay, so dapat nare-recognize natin yung nabasa nating idea, knowledge, and study. So syempre, mini-mention natin yung name nila and then kung anong date. Katulad nung kanina, di ba? Lagos 2010 study, ganyan. Okay, so ideas generated by other researchers that were used and mentioned in your research paper must be cited to provide credit to the work of its authors. Okay, so parang kinikredit natin sila, nare-recognize natin yung ginawa nilang study. Okay, so citation is important in providing evidence to your claims in your current research. Ayun, so kumbaga pag may tinatanong sa atin yung panelist natin, meron agad tayong ipapakitang evidence na nag-exist tong conclusion na to or claims na to. Okay, so kunyari may tinanong na bakit sa questionnaire mo ganito yung breakdown ng choices mo or ng options mo no, like bakit 0 to 19,000 ganun, ano yung basis mo no dun sa pag-divide mo ng mga options mo. Parang yung kunyari tinatanong natin kung magkano yung income nila. So nagkaroon tayo ng mga A, B, C or pagpipilian doon no? Or yung choices or yung options. So for example, yung isang option is 0 to 20,000, then yung isa naman 21,000 to 40,000, ganun. So ano yung basis mo? Bakit ganun yung pagkakahati-hati mo? Okay, so pwede mong sabihin na tax table. Ayan, so hinati mo based sa bracket sa tax table. So later yun, ipapakita ko naman kung ano yung itsura niya as we go further no, sa lessons natin. Okay, so lagi yung dapat may backup. Lahat ng tanong sa atin ng panelist natin, ang backup natin is yung review of related literature natin. Okay, citation in the body text of your research paper allows the readers to see the specific literature you used in that part of the manuscript. Okay, so yan, contents that need citation, yung mga theories and definition, general concepts explained in the background of the study. For example, ang topic natin is financial management. So, yun, parang hahanap ka ng mga meaning or definition ng financial management, pero galing sa mga iba't ibang authors. For example, kunyari sa study ni Juan, ganito niya define yung financial management. Sa study naman ni Pedro, ganito naman niya define yung financial management. Okay, so nagko-collect tayo ng theories and definition ng topic natin sa iba't ibang author. Okay? Ideas, hypotheses, and results. So aside from theories and principles, isa sa mga gusto nating i-collect is yung mga existing ng result. For example, ako, isa sa mga pinakita kong existing ng result na related doon sa financial management is yung study ng Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, BSP.
Okay.
Okay? So yung dating study ng BSP, so pinakita ko lang na based sa study ng BSP, parang sabi doon 3 out of 7 question, yun lang yung nasasagutan ng mga Pilipinong tama kapag tinatanong na about financial literacy. Or doon naman sa World Bank, meron silang study na parang 25% out of, parang tama ba ako? Parang 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 10. Ay, tama, ganun. 1 out of 10 Filipinos lang daw yung financially literate. Yun. So, pwede mong ipakita no, yung mga existing ng result. Okay, so methods, data collection, and analysis techniques developed by other people. Okay, so yan, isa sa mga gusto natin i-collect, no, yung dapat natin i-collect is kung paano ba nag-gather ng data yung mga dating researchers. So for example, hindi tayo basta-basta nag-create lang ng questionnaire kung ano lang yung gusto nating itanong, yun lang yung pwede na, yun yung itatanong natin. So dapat may mga basis tayo. Bakit ganun yung questionnaire natin? Okay, so when we say when we want to know the level of financial literacy of the Filipino or Filipinos, merong standard yan na questionnaire. Okay, so pwede kang maghanap ng mga sample ng questionnaire from other authors. Yan. So magko-collect ka din, no, ng mga sample ng questionnaire nila. Okay? And then through that, saka ka makaka-create ng sarili mong questionnaire. Okay? Yan. So ano ba yung mga techniques? So for example, ano bang tawag dito kapag gusto nilang malaman yung level of financial behavior naman ng respondent nila, ano yung ginagamit nilang type of question. For example, Likert scale na tinatawag, yung 1 to 5, i-rate nila kung gano'n nila kaalam itong bagay na to, ganyan. Okay, so later on, yan, ipapakita ko naman, no, dun sa sample nating research kung paano siya ginagawa. Okay, so yun. So yun, no, isa sa mga kino-collect natin is kung paano sila nag-gather ng data, sample ng survey form nila, yung techniques nila. Okay? And kung paano nila kinukuha yung sagot. For example, through Google form ba, or interview, or parang face-to-face ba na pagsasagot ng survey. So, ganun. Okay? So, again, no, aside sa theories and principles, yung mga definitions, pinapakita natin yung mga result, and then yung method ng mga existing na author. Okay. Data sources, complementary data figures, tables, and graphs. Ayan. Isa sa mga sample na nakuhaan natin ng review of related literature is yung frameworks natin. Diba? Meron tayong theoretical frameworks, di ba? Yung if natatandaan nyo, yung isa is yung Maslow hierarchy, and then yung isa pa yung life cycle theory. Okay? So, isa rin yun sa kino-collect natin. Yan, yung may mga picture, or mas better kung figures, tables, and graphs. Tapos, ini-interpret natin siya. Okay? Or, kino-collect din natin kung paano siya na-interpret din ng other authors. Okay, so types of in-text citation. Okay, so paano naman natin siya sinusulat, no, sa review of related literature? Hindi naman pwedeng kinaka-copy-paste lang natin. Yan, kung nakita natin yung definition ng financial management based dito sa author na to, kinaka-copy-paste natin. Hindi siya ganon. So dapat meron tayong format na sinusunod. Okay? So yung una yan, sa part ng reference, pero bandang dulo pa to eh. Yan, yung reference na part, so parang kino-collect natin yung name ng author, yung date kung kailan siya ginawa, and then yung name ng study niya, which is yung past as prologue, educational, psychologist, legacy and progeny, and then yung title, no, yung part na pinagkuhaan natin. Ayan, syempre di ba maraming part yan eh, maraming part ng research niya. Okay? So siguro ito part to ng conclusion. So Journal of Educational Psychology, and yung page, and pwede mong kunin din kung anong site mo nakuha. Okay? Yan. So as you can see, kadalasang instead na .com, yan, yung iba .org, .edu, .gov, Yan. So, ayun yung mga credible na sites na pagkukuhaan natin ng sources natin. So, hindi pwedeng Wikipedia. Wikipedia is not a credible site or source kasi na-edit din naman yan ng ordinaryong tao. Okay? So, hindi rin Google, hindi rin Pinterest, hindi rin Facebook, hindi rin Instagram. So, that's not an example of a credible source. Okay? Hindi rin TikTok. Okay? So, dapat mga .org, .edu, .gov. Yan. Dati kami nung nagawa ko na research, hindi ina-accept kapag galing sa Wikipedia, hindi rin ina-accept kapag ibang site. Dapat ano lang, galing sa .org, .edu, .gov. Okay? Okay, so yun. Ito yung itsura niya sa may pag nagawa natin ng reference list. So kapag sinusulat naman natin siya sa chapter 2 natin, review of related literature, pwede natin siyang i-present ng ganito, parentheses, Alexander, tapos comma, then 2018. Tapos yung sinabi niya, yung next na yung mga sinabi niya na. Yan, i-paraphrase mo lang ng onte. Okay? Na hindi nag-iiba yung thought. Okay? Para ma-avoid natin yung plagiarism kasi kapag niran yan dun sa nagde-detect ng plagiarism, syempre, mare-reject yung study natin. Narrative citation, usually talaga ito yung ginagamit. Yan, Alexander, parentheses, 2018, parentheses. Okay, so parenthetical citations are placed at the end of the sentence of the paragraph in the body text of your research paper. Okay, so, ayun, ang pinagkahiban pala nila, yung parenthetical is, ito na yung last part. For example, meron tayong quotation or meron na tayong sentence dyan na kinuha natin or paragraph na kinuha natin. At the end of that paragraph, saan natin ilalagay itong parenthetical citation. Kapag narrative naman, ito yung nauuna. Nauuna siya before the paragraph, sentence. So usually ito talaga yung ginagamit, narrative citation. Yan. So ganito siya pinapakita. The Philippines is primarily an agricultural country because of its rich natural resources. So De La Cruz, 2010. Kapag narrative naman is another way of inserting citation in the body text of your research paper. So according to De La Cruz, 2010, the Philippines is primarily an agricultural country because of its natural resources. Usually, ganito natin siya pinapresent. Instead na ganito. Okay? Remember, formatting style of in-text citation depends on the field of the study. The institution or organization you belong to may also have a required citation style guide. Okay, so depende rin yan sa school kung paano nila gustong i-present natin yung mga citation natin. Okay, so APA stands for American Psychological Association. It is one of the most commonly used citation formats in academic writing, especially in the field of life, physical science, and psychology. So if no author, lagyan na lang pag walang author, lagyan na lang natin ng title of the web page or article or the title of the book, and then quit here. Okay, so a systematic mechanism for gathering customer satisfaction and feedback is an integral part of business development and growth. Para siyang kanina yung parenthetical. Okay, pero kapag walang author, yung title yung nilalagay natin. If merong author, yan, surname lang, and then yung year, yung 2010. Yan, so pag dalawa yung surname, De La Cruz and Dizon, 2010. Kung marami silang author, ayan, so we can use De La Cruz et al. 2010. MLA stands for Modern Language Association. It is commonly used citation format in the field of humanities like language, arts, and history. Okay, parang halos same lang din naman sila nung sa isa. Okay, so how do citations help both reader and writer? Okay, so syempre no, parang yun nga, isa sa mga nakaka-help for both reader and writer is yung mga sentence or yung mga paragraph na nilalagay natin is credible. Okay, kasi meron tayong na-cite na author. Okay, so another example is yung CMOS refers to the Chicago Manual of Style. It is another most used citation formats. It is also a style used by multiple fields like social science, humanities, and other hard sciences. Okay, so in-text citation for the Cmos, style comes in two forms: the notes bibliography system and the author date system. Yeah, so this is the text that you want to cite, right? The rest of the paragraph, as you normally would, refer to the bottom of the page for citation. Okay, number 1, De La Cruz 1. Parang ano to reference list style. Yan, yung name ng author, pero ito walang date. Tapos yung name ng book niya or ng study niya, and then yung part ng pinagugutan mo ng paragraph. So parang mga topic to. And then yung page. And then yung site kung saan mo siya nakuha. Okay, so kung ito naman, papansin mo, walang comma. Diretso siya, 26 Reyes, 2016. Kung ito naman gusto nilang i-include pa yung page Reyes, 2016, page 15 to 16. Ayan, or pwede rin naman i-represent na Reyes and Cruz 2016, then yung page doon. If three authors, Reyes, Cruz, and Santos 2016, comma, yung page. And then, kapag madami silang author, like, siguro more than 5 ata to, Reyes et al. 2016, 22. Okay, so a study on the behavior of resident on the environmental conservation of Pasig River. Okay, so ito yung mga sample ng sample ng quantitative research title. So a study on the behavior of residents on the environmental conservation of Pasig River, a study on the response of human cells to change in Kirkcaldian rhythms. So what is an organized method of acknowledging literature resources used in specific parts of the research paper? So ang sagot dito is citation. So why do we need to cite literature resources? So it can help the readers and writer to better understand the part with parang with system, ganon, and syempre yung credibility din. Okay, so citation is an organized method of acknowledging literature sources used in specific parts of the research. Citing literature sources may be through an in-text citation and a reference list. Okay, so usually parang kailangan natin ng both in-text citation kapag pinapaliwanag na natin yung interpretation or yung study nung nakuha nating reference. Then, yung reference list naman at the end of RRL ata to, or part na ng appendix ata. kung naalala ko. Ayun, meron tayong list ng lahat ng lahat ng study na nakuha natin. Two types of in-text citation or parenthetical and narrative citation. There are three common citation, the APA, MLA, and Cmos. So not all contents of research paper need citations. The following are the important parts of the research paper that require citations: in theories and definitions, ideas, in literature review, yung hypothesis, previous results, data collection methods, and analysis techniques and data sources. Okay, so do we have any question regarding citation? Okay, so if none, let's move on to lesson 3. Igets ba natin? Guys, nag-gets nyo naman or nag-figure out nyo naman on how to do the review of related literature? Okay, so I assume yes. Okay, so again, Unit 4, writing the review of related literature. Lesson 3. Summarizing literature sources. Parang continuation dito ng citation. Okay, what are the things that must be included in the summary of literature source? Okay, so at the end of this study, we should be able to differentiate a summary from synthesis. Construct a good review of literature. Okay, so yung iba, pag hindi mo pa ganun kakabisado or kagamay kung paano nagsa-citation or nagsa-summarize ng mga literature, pwede kang pag nagko-correct ka ng study mo, pwede mo siyang gawin ganito. Okay, yung author, para meron ka lang guide, para mas madali mo siyang magawa ng reference list entry. Yan yung author, yung title of the work, kung kailan siya ginawa or na-publicize, and then yung main idea or yung part or yung definition or yung result na related mismo doon sa topic mo. Okay, so defining a summary. Summarizing is a process of explaining the content of any material in a brief and coherent manner. Okay, so dapat hindi tayo nagka-copy-paste. Dapat at least i-paraphrase natin yun or i-summarize natin. Pero hindi dapat nalalayo dun sa thought mismo nung study na kinuha natin. Okay, so synthesis links multiple summaries coming from various sources in order to form a coherent and logical explanation of an idea or argument. Okay, so yung summary presents information from different parts of individual source, while yung synthesis combines information from different parts of each individual source into a single narrative. Kumbaga, yung synthesis, pag kunyari katulad ng definition of financial management, so ang dami nag-define ng financial management, iba't ibang author. So, i-combine lang natin yun into one paragraph. Pagkasama-samahin natin yung definition nila. So, summary highlights the important points of an individual source. While yung synthesis naman highlights the important points of multiple sources. Okay, so marami tayong sources kasi when doing citation or when collecting review of related literature. So dapat yung highlight mapagsama-sama din natin. Excludes personal analysis, includes personal analysis. Okay, so pag nagsa-summary tayo, parang sinasummarize lang natin yung nabasa nating story yan or lesson, while yung synthesis pwede natin i-include yung personal nating analysis based dun sa study na nabasa natin. Why is summarizing an essential skill? Why is summarizing an essential skill in research? Okay, so dapat magaling tayong mag-summarize, no? Or mag-paraphrase. Siyempre to avoid plagiarism din. And then para mas ma-express natin or tawag dito, mas ma-pinpoint natin or magkaroon tayo ng, mabigyan natin siya ng point kung ano ba talaga yung summary ng study na yon. Okay? Okay, so summary versus synthesis. According to Suarez, 2005, it has been proven that Philippine societal practices in the 18th century were predominantly influenced by Spanish culture, with Chinese culture also playing a role. Pag synthesis naman siya, Suarez 2005 forwards that it has been proven that Philippine societal practices in 18th century were predominantly influenced by Spanish culture, with Chinese culture also playing a role, while De La Cruz et al. 2001 and Marquez 2003 add in their works that this culture intermingled with existing indigenous practice. So kumbaga parang pwede mong i-support itong argument ni Suarez din ng iba pang study din. For example, yung itong sinasabi ni Suarez can be supported din ni De La Cruz and Marquez, or pwede rin sila mag-contradict, and or pwedeng mag-add or magdagdag ng idea doon sa sinasabi ni Suarez. Writing a summary involves identifying essential information from the source material. A good summary is essential to create a synthesized discussion in the literature review. Okay, so dapat kapag nakakita tayo ng study, hindi lahat sinasama natin, no? Dapat yung pinaka-related lang talaga sa topic natin. Okay, yung mga unnecessary statements na hindi naman that cannot support our claims, huwag natin i-include. Research summary. Okay, so for under ng research summary is the background, yung result, yung methods, and then yung conclusion. So kapag sa background, no, relevant information about the topic. Methods, yung enumerate methods used in data collection. Sa result naman, relevant result na pwede nating pagbasihan or pwede nating i-compare sa magiging result natin. And then in conclusion, one sentence generalization. Okay, so when writing a good summary, so first step is to identify if the topic is relevant to your current study. And syempre, i-check mo kung same ba kayo ng topic na tinutukoy. Next is locate discussion of key concepts and variables based on your topic. Okay, so yung dinidiscuss nila dapat nag-i-exist doon or nakikita natin doon yung mga variables na gusto natin gamitin. Then third, summarize the information regarding the identified key concepts. So again, hindi lahat ng nakikita natin doon sa study na nakita natin, isusulat natin lahat yun or i-copy-paste natin lahat doon. Dapat yung relevant lang doon sa topic natin and doon sa variable na ginagamit natin. Synthesizing summaries. Set the main arguments of each synthesis. Group summary according to the idea and argument. Yan. So dapat pag lahat sila tinutukoy yung financial management, then pagkasama-samahin natin yun. Kapag puro result naman, pagkasama-samahin din natin yun. Okay, so parang yung katulad ng kanina, pag mga definitions, theories, pagkasama-samahin natin dun sa category na yun. And then kapag mga arguments naman, and then results, pagkasama-samahin din natin. Kapag puro method naman or example ng mga method or data collection, yun din yung groupings natin. And then yung lastly, pag mga graphs na din, yun, pwede nang isingit-singit yun. Okay? Pero yun, depende siya sa requirement din ng school kung paano nyo sa ipo-format. Okay, write the synthesis. Synthesizing literature review on development of voting patterns. Okay, so synthesis of ideas regarding history of elections. So, kunyari ang topic natin is about voting patterns. Then syempre, no, isa sa check natin is yung naging history or lahat ng naging result, no, nung election for the last 5 years or for the last 5 election, pwede. And then synthesis of ideas regarding campaign strategy over time. So let's check if may connection kaya yung campaign strategy sa naging result ng history, nung naging election from the past years. And then synthesis of ideas on population of their voting patterns. Okay, kung gaano kadami, no, yung bumoto sa kanila. A literature review of and its subparts synthesis. So dito natin ma-check, no, kung yung mga nakikita ba nating survey is enough na to check or to prove kung sino na yung mananalo sa next election. So you can check the former surveys, di ba? Yung mga nakaraang pang mga survey, sino kayang nagbilid doon? And yung nagbilid ba doon is, yun ba yung nanalo sa election? Okay, that can prove na merong impact yung survey or totoo yung survey. Okay? Synthesis on the history of election, yeah, ideas of summary of literature source, author A, yung year, summary, ayan, meron tayong tatlong author A hanggang C. Kapag campaign naman, meron din tayo, author B, to author D. So dapat ginugroup natin sila depende dun sa depende dun sa kung ano yung gusto nating category or groupings. For example, history of election, campaign strategy, and then yung population ng voting. Okay, the summary is an essential component of a synthesis. Make sure that the summary highlights key ideas, arguments, or findings from the chosen sources relevant to your research topic. Okay, so aside naman sa mga research or yung mga existing ng thesis or dissertation, pwede rin naman tayong mag-citation gamit ng online news articles, okay? So, syempre, no, yung title ng news article, sino yung nag-author nun, and kailan siya napabalita. If meron tayong link, lalo na kung nasa site naman siya, and then yung summary ng news na yun. Quick check, what is the difference between a summary and synthesis? Okay, parang yung synthesis kasi is, parang consolidation na lang ng summary. Okay? So just to wrap up, summarizing is a process of explaining the content of any material in an objective, brief, and coherent manner, while yung synthesis naman incorporates multiple summaries into a single coherent narrative about an idea or argument. In writing a summary, the researcher may focus on the following of the material: introduction, yung methodology, discussion of the results, and yung conclusion natin. Kahit one sentence lang yung conclusion. And identify if the topic is relevant to your current study. Locate discussion of the key concepts and variables based on your topic. Summarize the information regarding the identified key concepts. And then set the main arguments of each synthesis, group summaries according to the idea or argument, write the synthesis. Okay, so do we have any question regarding the difference between the summary and the synthesis? Okay, so if none, we're already done with the first part of Unit 4. Meron pa tong meron pa tong dalawang topic. Now, we will discuss next week. So if you don't have any question, we can now dismiss the class. Thank you, guys. Good evening din pala. Okay.
Thank you po, bye.
Bye. Bakit nandiyan yan?